Okay, you're currently incarcerated?
Yeah.
All right, first things first,
Yeah.
criminal law attorney. Don't worry about your wife leaving you just yet, right?
Not yet. Let's not worry about the house.
Let's do that
It's
next
okay.
week,
Yes. That's right.
Family disputes can make us feel isolated and vulnerable. Maybe you're going through a divorce or a legal dispute about your kids. Perhaps you've spent hours on Google or have even posted anonymously on Facebook to see what others have to say. But are you getting the actual information and support that you're looking for? Our podcast, Legal Lounge, aims to dispel misinformation and downright bad legal information to empower anyone with questions about their family, their children, their finances, their marriage, and the law. As a team focused exclusively on family law matters, we aim to help listeners not only with the information they need, but also with the hope that their situation has a solution. Short disclaimer, please note this podcast is for educational purposes only, and the information should not be relied upon as legal advice or for legal purposes. Welcome back to the Legal Lounge. Today, I have a wonderful friend and colleague in the legal field, Claudia. Claudia, welcome to the Legal Lounge.
Thank you for having me, Theresa. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you here.
Thank you.
So tell the listener a little bit more about yourself, what you do, because you're also a law firm owner.
I am. And that's actually a good set off there because, my name's Claudia Soto, and, I've got a law firm here with 4 offices. So we've got 3 offices here in Charlotte, North, Middle, and South. We try to go right down that corridor. And then we just recently opened an office in Raleigh, which was something we've been kind of working towards, and now we're in Raleigh, so that's great. But the practice areas that we service most frequently, obviously, is real estate. We've got estate planning, business law, and immigration most recent addition. So that's kind of where we are. And, bilingual attorneys, we've got 3. Did I lose count there? No, 3.
Yeah.
Bilingual attorneys. We just added one of counsel attorney, so I was trying to make sure I wasn't miscounting the amount of attorneys we have now. But 3 bilingual attorneys, so that's kind of one of our biggest niches is that Spanish community and Spanish-speaking buyers, sellers, estate planners, all of those folks.
That's huge. That's huge because I know the population here in Charlotte, the Spanish-speaking population specifically, is growing exponentially.
Absolutely. Not just in the, just Spanish-speaking, but the Spanish-speaking and Latino business owner is a huge demographic that is growing. And that business owner then in turn becomes a real estate client, then in turn becomes an estate planning client, then in turn business client, right? So there's, and with a lot of my clients, the community we're dealing with, then there's a lot of immigration issues also. And immigration, I think sometimes we just jump into the family-based immigration, but there's a lot of employment immigration in the business community that also I think sometimes gets overlooked a little bit.
Sure.
Because we have a lot of business owners that are international with assets here in their home countries, businesses that run out of their home countries or split, running them here and there. And so it gets very complex and interesting, which is kind of one of my passions now. My passion started in the real estate world, and now it's slowly shifting into the business world just because it's so fascinating how much people do internationally. It's pretty...
That's so cool.
It is I love that area. It's awesome.
It's awesome to see your firm expanding, your team expanding as well.
Thank you.
Because, that's definitely a population that does not have as many resources as it should. Right. And so it is critical for attorneys from our perspective to step up if we are bilingual.
That's right,
to assist them. And you're part of the Latin American Chamber of Commerce too, right?
Yes, I am. So I am the vice chair this year of the Charlotte Latin American Chamber of Commerce. We rebranded.
Nice.
So it was the Latin American Chamber of Commerce of Charlotte, and now it's the Charlotte Latin American Chamber of Commerce, highlighting our city and kind of putting some more focus on that. And, that is a very close tie to what I do. And again, what I was just talking about, what my passion's kind of shifting towards, which is the business owner, just because that really is a huge community that needs a lot of resources, not just from the legal side, but just multiple, right? From finance and legal and insurance. There's just a lot of different areas that our community needs the resources for.
Yeah.
And, the chamber it's one of the best places to go to find the right resources, trusted resources.
Yeah.
So yes, I am heavily involved this year.
Love that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm trying to make it out. I've been to a few events, so, see you there.
We'll have some fun events coming up at the end of the year, so I'll send you information.
Even better.
Yes,
Even better.
yes.
Well, I'm also going to tell a little secret that you dabbled in family law for a minute, didn't you?
I sure did.
She doesn't want to remember
I
that.
don't want to remember that. I'm just kidding. It was great. But it was only great for 2 years, and then I had enough. So
like, I'm out.
Kudos to you for making this where you are and serving the community in that area, because it definitely is a huge need. Yeah. But yes, I did a little bit of family law. I did a little bit of a lot of things at the beginning. So I did do some family work. Did some immigration work. So our firm does do immigration. I'm not the immigration attorney in the firm, but I have done immigration. I actually did some criminal work. That probably was my least favorite, doing criminal work. And then some personal injury work, traffic, those type of areas for a little while, about 2 years in some,
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure it was, just trying to find what actually fit you for practice.
That's right. Yeah. And I realized then, doing those areas of practice, realizing the big gap and the need in the transactional world, which is where I completely shifted to, because, I think it was clear that there was a need in family law, in immigration, in criminal. But then as I was serving some of those clients, realizing that the real estate world had a huge gap.
Yeah.
And just naturally from my family dynamic, I have my entire family's in the real estate industry. And so just watching that on the side as I was doing these other areas of practice, realizing that we needed to fill that gap. Yeah. And then once I started doing real estate, then I started identifying the other gaps in the transactional world, the business law, the estate planning. Those areas are not underserved for the Latino community.
Yeah. And I think that's why we've been able to partner so well together. Because just in case the listener didn't know, we also provide family law services to the Spanish-speaking population. And it's important because when we go to law school, we're learning all about the law. A lot of people don't realize we don't get into area focuses. But then once we're practicing, we are trying to identify those particular legal needs. And every legal need has a very different approach, right? Like a family law case is not the same as an immigration case, which is definitely not the same as a business law transaction. So it's critical to actually have attorneys in all of those different pockets, or an attorney also to be aware of how different those areas are.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I hone in on when I either with clients or with colleagues and other attorneys is that, that we understand the other areas of law that touch our clients. We don't need to know all the details, right? But we do need to understand it, because I think that knowing that certain things exist. So I deal a lot with, in the real estate and the business side, I deal a lot with taxes. I am not a tax professional, don't plan to be one, but I have to know enough in the tax world to be able to identify, hey, there's an issue here. I'm going to do a deed for you, or I'm going to do this business document for you. You need to talk to a tax professional, because there could be some consequence. There could be some effect here. I need to know those effects exist. I don't need to know what they are, but that they're there, right? And so to be able to, have good collaboration with other professionals, whether it be attorneys or other professional services such as taxes, I think it's huge. And in our community, I think we need to, do a little more collaboration. I think we are pretty good at it in our like with our local bar. And I know that you and I have collaborated. I've collaborated with other attorneys in other areas because precisely that, right? I know that there's the issue that's out there. I don't know the details. So I say to the client, hey, I know this is an issue we need to address and we need to explore. Here's somebody that I trust, somebody that I know that we can connect you with, right? Rather than saying, oh, Google it, right? That's not a great handoff. So I try to make those connections, you know, such as the ones that you and I have for any family issues that we come across.
That's critical because, you know, when clients are going through their turmoils, their problems, you know, we've seen, especially recently, you know, it could be a business owner now having to deal with immigration issues, then that's affecting their family and custodial rights with their kids. And, you know, to a client, it's a whirlwind. And, you know, sometimes they'll say, oh, I need a lawyer, not realizing actually you might need 3.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And on top of that, you need a financial advisor. And on top of that, you need to deal with a tax professional. So it's good to have this bank of resources, this toolbox, if you will, for each of our clients.
Yeah. No, I think that's huge. I think some time ago, maybe 3 to 4 months ago, we were on a panel precisely that did that, right? It was kind of touching on each of the areas. It was the real estate piece, the estate planning piece, the family law, the immigration piece, because they all intersected in this one particular issue. And so I think, you know, having those referrals and those relationships is huge because clients, a lot of times they'll call and they don't know what they're even asking for. You just need to, whoever they're reaching out to first, hopefully is, you know, just listening to even tell them, listen, this is not, you don't need me right now. You will, but you need this right now because they don't even know what they're looking for. A lot of times I'm telling them, okay, when you call, this is what you need. I've heard you. This is what you're looking for. It's not what I can do for you, but this is what you need to say when you're going to ask for help. Because now you understand what the problem is, right? I think when we go to law school, that's what they teach us, right? Issue spotting and understanding and figuring out what the problem is and where to find the answer. And so I think that is really like the core of what we do outside of the substance is identifying what the problems are that the client has that they don't even realize and then putting them together with the right resource. And, you know,
and helping them narrow in on the correct problem. Especially when you have a sequence of problems, right?
Right. Multiple problems.
Multiple problems at once, right? Like, okay, you're currently incarcerated. All right, first things first, criminal law attorney. Don't worry about your wife leaving you just yet, right?
Not yet. Let's not worry about the house.
Let's do that next week.
Yes.
You know?
That's right. Yeah. Identifying the legal issue is a big one. But no, I think that's, you know, relationships like this are great. Because I think it just generates trust for the client. To feel comfortable for me to say, listen, you need this, you need some family law advice, right? We are going to be doing a deed and this may or may not resolve the issue that you're trying to resolve. We're not just going to transfer a deed and everybody signs and then it turns out it's not doing what you thought it was going to do. So let's have you talk to a family law attorney because there's some things you don't know in the background that you could pull a deed off of Google if you want to, or ChatGPT now, right? You can pull a deed up, and guess what? It didn't do what you thought it did until you go to the closing attorney and they tell you your ex-wife that you thought signed something 3 years ago was not sufficient, right? And so those types of identifications and saying, hey, go talk to a family law attorney, or sometimes even, you know, relationships where I can ask the question and say, hey, Theresa, what are your thoughts, right? What would you suggest that we do in the real estate piece to ensure that the family law issues are being addressed? And I've done that too, right? I'll reach out and say, you know, here's a deed we're doing. I know based on some recent changes, this may or may not be sufficient. What else should we add? Because, you know, previously there wasn't family law implications, or not implications, but requirements on a deed transfer. And, you know, Now there are.
And that's huge because I think sometimes individuals think that our law is consistent and that it doesn't really change.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't say how wrong that is. It changes all the time.
Yes.
It's almost like this living entity that is, eating and breathing and all this stuff where we have to keep track of it.
Right.
And that's also why we have, an immigration attorney versus a family law attorney, because, in my lane, I'm tracking what the Court of Appeals is handing down in terms of rulings in family law matters. And, immigration, man, they're not just dealing with a court. They're dealing with different different entities, different administrative proceedings as well, let alone the amount of paperwork. We deal with a lot, but immigration, hats off.
There's a lot to keep track of on the immigration side, that's why I'm not doing that part.
That's why you have another attorney.
Our firm does, but not me. But I think that, people, like you said, they think it's defined. This is the defined term. This is what it is. I'm like, no. Yeah. That's why there's lawsuits and there's litigation. Yeah. And then what you thought it said is not what it was intended to say, and now there's a different rule and a different process. So you got to keep up.
Add the emotional cloud on top of that, right? And then suddenly people aren't even thinking straight, which I feel maybe a little bit more. But
I will hats off because you do. You have more of the emotional piece when it comes to the family law side. Yeah. The fact that ours is transactional doesn't mean there's not emotions. Sure. There are, but a little different. Yeah. Different type of emotions. More urgency than emotion. Yeah. Yeah.
Because when sometimes parties are arguing over an asset, whether it's a business or a living room set, it could be because of the emotions more so than the asset itself.
Yeah. It's probably not worth what they think it's worth.
The furniture definitely is not.
No, not at all. Real estate maybe.
Real estate maybe. Yeah.
But you know what? There's a little more black and white there to get down to the value. Yeah. Compared to other things, right? Yeah. That are more sentimental value than actual market value.
Yeah.
So,
building relationships is a natural part of life. But how does the law affect those relationships? Do you want to marry your significant other, but have cold feet from the many divorce horror stories out there? Are you preparing for a custody battle against your ex? That is where Modern Legal comes in. We offer education and knowledge about the law when it affects the relationships near and dear to your heart. To learn more about how family law affects your family, book a consultation with an attorney of our Modern Legal team by visiting our website, emailing us, or calling us at 704-286-6302. Check out the information about Modern Legal Services at modernlegalnc.com. And yes, it can get complicated very quickly.
Very.
And this is why it's critical to not only involve an attorney, but involve an attorney sooner rather than later. If you don't know which one to go to, our firms, for example, have the resources. Right now I have a family law case where I am representing a business owner. And fortunately, they have a very well-run business, but it's co-owned by both husband and wife. Yeah. And that the separation is having a ripple effect on business operations. And so it's critical for me to reach out, to a business law attorney or other resources to keep this business intact while we go through the separation and divorce process.
Right. Well, and sometimes with business owners, by the time you're seeing them or they're coming to you, the issues with the business that are at issue, it's too late, right? Yeah, it's too late at that point. Yeah. It's, when businesses are being structured, set up, and there's everybody's on good terms, that's when the business documents need to be put in place. Buy-sell agreements. What happens in the event that somebody needs to leave the business so the other person can run it? Yeah. Yeah, you didn't think about it ahead of time.
We're going to be married together
forever. We're never going to need to, separate business dealings. Yeah. So, those are huge. Buy-sell agreements are big. That's a big one that I feel like a lot of my clients don't even think about. Yeah. I'll have a client that comes to do a closing, and in the closing, I find out a lot of things. And I'm finding out that they have a business, that they have 17 partners in their company, and they have no operating agreement and no other, obviously if they don't have an operating agreement, they don't have a buy-sell agreement. And I said, well, have you ever thought about one of your many partners passing, divorcing, wanting to leave the business? What's the plan? Oh, I didn't think about that, right? That's a problem. And those are the kind of things that I think need to be in front of the consumer and the
Yes.
business owner
Agreed.
in proactive ways, right? It's not super easy to find the right space to do that. The chamber is one place where you do that, right? You kind of expose these things as an issue, but I feel like there needs to be other venues where this kind of conversation comes up, so that it's not coming up at the time they're coming to talk to you, because at that point it's too late, and now you're trying to make sure the business doesn't have a ripple effect based on the separation, issues that are being addressed at the time.
Thank you for that wonderful segue, because speaking of planning, that's where I would also say same when it comes to marriage.
Yes.
We have premarital agreements or prenups, and it's a lot easier to discuss a division of property and debts or a spouse support waiver during a time of amicable and excited, lovable relations before the wedding day than it is when, everything has hit the fan and you're arguing, or maybe you're not even speaking, and you're trying to resolve some of these issues.
Right.
So the more planning you can put in place, the more influence and honestly control you have in a final outcome, if that outcome is not the one that you intended.
Right. When I think to there's a little taboo-ish to talking about a premarital agreement, right? And I wish there was more content out, right, for consumers and for folks who can see that it's okay to do that, right? It doesn't mean that you're planning on divorce, right? You're being smart. You're planning ahead. You're preventing, possible issues in the future, issues of which I'm in the front line when we're trying to sell real estate, right? We're doing a closing, and okay, now we've got to send all monies to to their family law attorneys, because they on the closing date still can't figure out who's getting what.
Yep.
Not fun for me. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And not fun for them, because then monies are just sitting there held up until an agreement comes about.
Yeah.
And some attorneys won't close it.
Yep.
It's like, you got to figure this out before you can sell this real estate.
Yeah.
It's just, it's an inconvenience for everybody. If things can be done ahead of time, that'd be great, But I think that it needs to, that taboo layer needs to be shed, so that people don't feel so, uncomfortable with doing a premarital agreement, because those would be highly valuable in a situation like that of separation.
Yeah. And the reality is at least approximately 50% of marriages end in divorce. Many businesses fail. I heard a more recent number that less than 20% of businesses that are for sale actually sell. That I will say the one guarantee is we are all going to pass away at some point.
Yes.
So these are all realities of life that we as attorneys can assist our clients in navigating from a legal context, which then has a ripple effect on their financial circumstance, on their property ownership, on their emotional state even, right? Yeah. Because it's interesting, because these items aren't things to just glaze over, right? Whether we like it or not, to have a house, you either are renting it or you've purchased it, and so you have a deed.
Yeah, that's right.
So let's make sure the deed is drafted correctly.
That's right. And I think here, a lot of folks, and this is almost, I want to say maybe 90% of the consultations I do, there's always what do you mean? Why do they have to sign? And it's, I bought it before I got married. Their name's not on the deed. Why do they need to be involved? I'm like, the state dictates that, right? Where's the property? Yeah. Where is the property? North Carolina? Okay. Yeah. I get that you don't agree with that, which a lot of folks is, they get very emotional about that comment, and about me telling them that, someone who they did not believe needed to be involved in this transaction needs to be involved, a spouse. And so, I think it's just understanding at the time that people are doing these agreements for them to understand and know that this is why you do it, right?
Yeah.
You want to avoid having your spouse, if they had nothing to do, you might have bought property, with a parent or, with a sibling or something like that, where you should have probably put it in some kind of entity, but let's skip that.
Yeah.
Let's say they did not.
Let's forget the trust in a business for a second. Yeah.
But, you mom and daughter bought a property, as an investment, and now daughter's getting married. And how about we separate that out, right? Mom and daughter had something going. It's not part of the marriage. If something gets addressed ahead of marriage, there's no issues. Post-marriage, divorce, now we got problems. Mom didn't anticipate having to potentially own property with son-in-law, right?
Yes, exactly.
So, same thing with a business. I don't think a lot of business owners realize once one business owner passes, then their heirs will own the business with the surviving business owner if they don't have something in place.
Exactly.
So, those things are pretty important. And, hopefully you and myself and other colleagues and attorneys are serving to kind of get the message out, right?
Yeah.
Get the message out so
Yeah.
people do realize that there is some huge benefits to consulting about these things, at minimum consulting, right? Maybe you're not doing, but you're aware.
Yeah.
If you're aware, you have different emotions when an issue arises, versus being completely oblivious to the fact that some of these things will come up later. Even if maybe, and I have clients who I will tell, I'm like, here, 1, 2, 3, these are my recommendations. This is ideal scenario.
Yeah.
Understood that you don't have the funds to do all of these things or the most ideal recommendation, but start somewhere.
Yeah.
Or now So when you're ready or when you feel like it's appropriate, then address it. Yeah. But at least you've consulted and you're aware that these things exist and this is how it should be done.
And that's critical. I feel, especially in family law, my clients will come in and they'll say, well, how can we change the law? Let me first note, that is a legislator's job. We are lawyers.
Do that. I don't quite do that, but
we do not create or change the law. Rather, we make legal arguments and assert your legal rights. And maybe, especially if you do litigation, which we do a lot of litigation at Modern Legal, we may be arguing certain positions, but it's still within the bounds of the law. And at the end of the day, I can't change the law, especially for your specific circumstance, but I can guide you through what the law and how the law impacts your situation. Which is critical. And to your point, making sure that legal education is conveyed, then a person can act and move forward, whether they're opening a business or getting married, on how they can actually protect themselves moving forward.
Just making educated decisions, right? They may do things a little different if they understand what, again, even if they didn't take the legal steps that were recommended, that's okay. But the fact that and you've got that, ability to make those decisions in an educated fashion may turn the result, you're in your favor or the way that you would expect it to go.
And the earlier, the better.
Yes.
I'll leave us with one story real quick. I had a consultation with a gentleman. And it was a very interesting consultation because he wasn't married and he had no children. So I'm like, why are you in my office? And he's like, oh, yeah. So me and my girlfriend are having a baby and we're doing good, but we're not married. And he's like, honestly, there's been moments where we've had a rough patch. So, I just want to make sure I know what my rights are as a father, should we not work out from a relationship standpoint, as well as to take care of the child. And it was just so interesting because I was like, well, first off, thank you for coming in. Talk about being proactive and doing things as early as possible. And what I found for him specifically was he didn't really understand the concept of child support. And so he thought, okay, well, I'm going to pay the medical bills for his pregnant girlfriend, and I'm going to buy the diapers, and I'm going to buy all this stuff. And I said, by the way, that's not child support. And he's like, but it's to care for the child and the unborn child. I'm like, yep, not child support under the laws of North Carolina. And then go one step further, once this child is here, yes, when you drop off diapers at the house, whether you're living with your girlfriend or not, that is also not child support. And so he had to really kind of grasp the legal concept of what child support was. But at the end of the consultation, he was so appreciative because well, I'm glad I'm not, he said, well, I'm glad I'm not wasting money on all these diapers when really I just need to send a check for $100.
Yep.
I'm like,
Yeah, just making different decisions, based on now knowing what the law would look at or how the law operates is huge. It's a big difference. Yeah.
Yep.
Send the check, not the diapers.
Exactly. And it's a smaller package, so why not?
That is, yeah. less postage.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, Claudia, thank you so much for joining us on the Legal
course.
Lounge today. If a listener wanted to get in contact with you or find your team, where could they find you?
So you can call our main office, which is 704-270-6027. We've got on our website, which is sotolawnc.com. And we're on social media. I don't know how you look for us. Look for us as Soto Law.
yes. I think that's where it works.
I think I'm pretty certain active. There's only one Soto Law in North Carolina. There's an inactive. But yeah, that's the best way to reach us. And that number will reach any of our offices. We work really as one firm, one team. And so with that, you can, reach any of our areas of practice and any of our 4 offices as well. So thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah.
This was a great conversation.
Pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our discussion. To learn more about me and the Modern Legal team, go to our website, modernlegalnc.com, or check out the links in our show notes to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You can also call us at 704-286-6302. If you have been intrigued by the conversation and would like us to continue our discussions, please subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. See you next time.